Computer. All right, we are live. My name is Chris Ralph. I am the managing director here at Bobble USA. So we're excited for Daniel Burns to present conversion rate optimization best practices, hands-on approach. With that being said, I think we're right on time. So Daniel, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Chris. And hello, everyone. Looking forward to presenting this to you guys today, mostly because this is something that I am truly passionate about. And I will explain why in a second. But one of the, not challenges, but one of the things that I had to do is there's so much to talk about conversion rate optimization. And usually, I can do a whole course on conversion rate optimization. And what I did today is I essentially kind of filtered it down to 30 minutes. I'm going to try to get this completed in 25 minutes to allow us some time for questions at the end. But, and I also created a little structure here. So we're going to do this in 25 minutes and I'm going to talk about 5 things. And this way, you know exactly how much time we're going to be doing this for and then what we're going to be talking about. But the items that I'm going to be going over today is, what is CRO and why it's very important. And then there's essentially 4 steps to running your CRO campaigns, and I'll quickly walk you through those. And I think the most important takeaways from the presentation today are really 4 and 5. And 4 is we have done conversion rate optimization for a variety of clients across different verticals and industries. And usually all of them have the 1 or 2, 3 issues that are consistent and common across different websites. And those are ones that I'm going to bring up because most likely one of these 3 might apply to your current website. So these are ones that we usually, pretty much every single account that we work on, we usually work on these 3 first. And then from there, we start looking at other things to test. And the reason that I'm saying that this is interesting is because when you start testing for CRO, it is infinite, the number of things that you can test, the number of pages that you can test, the elements on each one of the pages. And last but not least, I'm going to show you what tools I use to be able to conduct CRO, conversion rate optimization. And these are tools that are publicly available as well. So it'll allow you, if you're interested in then running some tests on your own website, to be able to easily do that. Now, one of the reasons that I really, really like conversion rate optimization, well, let me jump in and real quick say, the definition of conversion rate optimization is a system for increasing the percentage of visitors to a website that convert into customers, or more generally, take any desired action on the website, right? So this is the thing. In the agency here, one of the big focuses that we have, and actually one of the big focuses that most website owners have, is how do I attract new customers or new visitors to the site? And, I have SEO up there, but you could be doing social advertising. You could be doing pay-per-click, display advertising. You can be doing influencer marketing. Anything that drives traffic to the website are those red little arrows there. But conversion rate optimization looks at what happens next. Once these people come into the website, what's the bounce rate? How many people are actually coming into the website, looking at it and saying, no, this is not a good fit for me, and bounce right back out? How many people are engaging with the website? And how many people at the end of the day, which is really the most important metric, are converting, right? Either to sign up for a service or buy a product or, generating a lead. So that is what conversion rate optimization. And that is why for every visitor or traffic generating campaign that exists, it's so important that you're also focusing on the number of people that are actually engaging in the website. And let me tell you why. Because let's say that we have a website. Let's say that your website today, right? You have 10,000 visitors a month. And let's say that you have a bounce rate of 60%, which is very common, right? That means that from the 10,000 visitors, you have 4,000 visitors that are actually coming into the website. And then from those 4,000 visitors a month on the website, you have a conversion rate of 1%, which is also pretty common to see. That means you're generating 40 leads, right? Let's say that we're not bringing any more traffic to the website, but we want to do some conversion rate optimization on this website. If we wanted to generate 75 leads instead of 40 leads, what we need to do is we need to bump up the traffic instead of 10,000 visitors a month to 19,000 visitors a month. That's almost twice the amount of traffic. And as anyone knows, when they're trying to drive traffic to the website, doubling from 10,000 to 19,000 is going to be either very expensive or it's going to be a very time consuming, especially, when we're talking about maybe some organic traction that we need to, spend some time on building stuff. So that is something that you need to look at. But if we apply a conversion rate optimization campaign, now let's say that the same website that we still have 10,000 visitors a month, but we're able to decrease the bounce rate from 60% down to 50%. That's only a 10% decrease, which is very doable. Now, all of a sudden, instead of 4,000 visitors, you have 5,000 visitors. Boom. You did that with simple changes on the homepage. No big budgets for advertising or having to bring any more traffic. And now let's say that we did some additional conversion rate optimization, and then your conversion rate bumped up from 1% to just simply 1.5%. And I'm using some very conservative numbers here. Usually we see 2-3% increase in conversion. All of a sudden, with just that 10% decrease in bounce rate and a 0.5% in conversion rate, we're generating 75 leads instead of 40 leads. And this is the reason that I get so excited about conversion rate optimization. It's because it's what I consider the lowest hanging fruit with the highest return investment marketing strategy, right? We're keeping the visitors exactly where they are, but just by doing some changes on the website, we almost doubled the number of leads that we're generating from this website. So again, I recommend that every one of you take a look and or follow some of the advice that I'm going to be doing now, because if you see that your bounce rate is high and your conversion rate is low, and there's certain things that you can do to make sure that those get increased, you're going to see a tremendous, increase on the conversion of the website for a very little investment. So by far, it's the highest ROI marketing strategy that I know. So how does A/B testing work, right? So the way it works is this. You see option A on the top. That's your current page that we decided that we're going to test. And we might say, you know what, there's something wrong about this page because the conversion rate is so low. And then we're going to say, okay, well, we think this is the issue. Let's come up with an option B, which is our hypothesis. And then we launch option A and option B. Let's say this is a homepage for the website. And then what we do is we use a software that's going to do the A/B test, and they get all the visitors of the website, and they send 50% to one page and 50% to the other page. And then after we generate enough traffic on both of these, then we're going to be able to compare the results from one to the other. And in this example, let's say that option B converted 25%. Instead of 17%, we go, yes, this is a much better conversion. Then we get rid of option A, and option B becomes the permanent page on the website. And this is something that when you're doing conversion rate optimization, you're doing over and over and over, because every time you do a test, you get a small bump of 1%, 2%, 3%. You keep that as the new baseline, and then you continue doing other tests in different areas. So conversion rate optimization is not something that you do once. It's something that you continually do until you get to the point where your website is really well optimized. And then at that point, what do? I actually continue testing, because there's always room for improvement. But especially the ones that benefit the most out of this are sites that are really poorly optimized and that have an extremely bad, bounce rate or conversion rate. So this is how A/B testing works. And there's also a great gamification aspect to it, right? Because when you launch an A/B test, usually everybody in the office is putting in their bets in terms of, oh no, we think B is going to work or A is going to work. So there's that excitement to see the traffic coming in, to see really what's going to be working better than the other. So it's not only a great strategy, but it's also a very fun one. So what are the 4 steps to running a CRO campaign, right? 4 things that you need to do is, first, you need to find out where the problem is. And the way that you find out where the problem is by looking at Google Analytics, right? You need to look at Google Analytics and you need to say, okay, what is the bounce rate? What are my exit pages? What is going on? Where is the page? And then once you say, okay, well, you know what? My biggest problem right now is the homepage. Then you ask yourself, all right, on the homepage, what is my goal? Is my goal to decrease the bounce rate or increase the click-through path or increase the conversion? Well, mostly on the homepage, the big issue is the bounce rate. So that's what we need to fix. And then we say, all right, so what is the problem? Why is it that people are bouncing? And then you come up with a hypothesis and you say, you know what, maybe it's because it's lacking a call to action button on the homepage. And then you run a test. Then what you do is you create a second version of that homepage. you put a call to action on there, then you run the A/B test. And at the end of the A/B test, you go, wow, you know what, that call to action on the homepage really improved because my bounce rate now just went down by 15%. And then that is essentially the life cycle of running a conversion rate optimization. Let me take you a little bit deeper on how to do that. So first of all, where is the problem, right? That is the first step. So you're going to have to prioritize testing opportunities. Like I mentioned, every single page of the website is probably going to have an opportunity to be optimized. But where do you start? Well, you start with the low-hanging fruit. And the low-hanging fruit are the pages that you're going to be able to implement changes to that are going to have the highest return or the highest improvement, right? So when looking at Google Analytics, this is the order of pages that I recommend looking at. First, top entry pages, right? So you see what pages are getting the most traffic on, because those are the pages that if you make changes on, you're going to get the more results just because you have a lot more people that are visiting that page. A lot of times, and most of the times, the home page is included in that. But if you have a blog with some great blog posts or entries, maybe your top entry pages might be some blog posts or some inside pages. And then once you see, the top pages, the things that you're looking for is the bounce rate, the percentage of people that are clicking into, the inside pages. Same thing now once you've looked at the top entry pages, then you want to look at the most visited pages, right? Once people are into the website, what pages are they going into and spending the most time, right? If you see that there's a big exit rate, for example, which is number 3, for example, if they go to this page and then 60% of people that get to this page are exiting the website, well, that's a great opportunity, because how do we change that page to make sure that they don't leave the website, that they actually continue the click-through path down to our conversion? Fourth, which is again very important, and this is something that I sometimes, depending on how much traffic is on the website, I move up or down. But the conversion page obviously is probably, after the second page or the most visited pages, one of the most important pages, because this is where we want people to convert, right? And the conversion page on an e-commerce store is selling the product. On a service page is someone signing up for service or generating a lead. So that right there is probably where we spend the most time doing conversion rate optimization. It's either on the conversion page or the top entry pages. And then last but not least, other important pages that you want to look at. So now, let's say that we looked at the homepage and all of a sudden we're like, okay, well, there's, this is not working. There's something wrong. What is the problem? So the problem falls into one of these 6 categories always. So anytime that we do conversion rate optimization here at the office, what we do is we first pick out that page. So let's say it's the About Us page. And then we put that About Us page on the wall, and then we put this list on the wall, and we say, okay, let's go down this list, and let's make sure that this page truly does all of these really well. And if we pick one up that it doesn't do very well, that's probably the one thing that we're going to want to test. So the first thing, and by far the most important one, is the value proposition, right? This is the most important of the 6, and this is what drives people through the site. Are you communicating what's in it for the client? Are you clearly presenting your unique selling proposition, right? A lot of times people take that for granted and feel that visitors are going to understand what's in it for them. And if it's not really well presented, people are going to look at it and go, nah, this is not a good fit for me, and then turn back around. If you feel that is the problem, then make sure the value proposition's in there. If you feel that the value proposition is there, but it's not working, A/B test different approaches to presenting that value proposition. How can I reword this? Second one is relevance, right? How does the web page deliver on what your prospects expect? How does it match their needs? Again, it's really understanding who the audience is and what they're looking for. When they get to your website, are you presenting them with a solution? Are you presenting them with a plan? Are you giving them something to do? A lot of times, the big enemy of conversion rate optimization is what we call dead-end streets, right? Dead-end streets is when we give people to a page where they go to and they read something and there's nothing for them to do. That's usually the biggest cause of, exit page, because there's nothing to do. So, are you telling them how you can help them? And then it ties into clarity. It's like, how easily is your value proposition communicated, and how easily are you actually navigating them through the site? If you get to a page and you say, hey, this is what we do, and nothing else, and you expect them to go up to the navigation and pick the next page, you're not making it very clear for them to navigate through your website. At the end of every piece of content on the website, you should give them something to click on that's going to take them through the next step of what you engineered in the beginning, which is called a click-through map, right? A click-through map means you want people on the website to go to the home page, to go to the about page, and then maybe the, portfolio page, and then the conversion page. And every page on the website is formatted to drive people through that experience. So are you not making it clear for people where they have to go next? Number 4, anxiety. What elements on the page could be creating uncertainty for your prospects to take action? Are you putting out a message that's confusing? Wait a second, do these guys do a service or do they sell a product? You need to be very clear. This is what we do and this is how we do it. Distraction. This is probably another one that we work a lot with is, have you ever gotten to a page where there's like 8 different buttons to click on and there's all kinds of colored banner ads and there's so much going on that people are going to look at that page and go, oh my God, what do I do next? And the reality is when people are navigating websites now, they're multitasking. They're looking at their phone, they're thinking about something else. And if we don't subconsciously create a very easy experience for users to, number 1, digest the content, but 2, to click something to navigate the website, if we have to make them think too hard where they need to go, we're going to lose a big percentage of that traffic. Yes, there's some people that are in there that are willing to look hard, to do the research, to go in, and those are the people that you're going to get anyways. But it's that part of the visitors that you're going to distract away that might just end up going to result number 2 or result number 3 in Google to see what they're doing, and all of a sudden they have a better presentation and it catches them. So this is where you need to make sure that you're making it very easy for people to navigate your website without having to think too hard. And again, urgency. How are you matching the visitor's internal urgency and creating incentives? So as a product or service that you're offering, something that you can, add some urgency to it. We do that a lot of ways. We can do that in a way to, in terms of if you do it now, maybe you can get a discount or do it this way. But a lot of the urgency tests that we do is, talking about the pain points that the customer had. For example, you're suffering, let's say that you're, bleeding cash right now because, your business is doing this. Well, the longer you wait, the more cash you're going to be bleeding out. So this is something that you really need to, jump on right now. So adding that urgency in there, is that going to help, increase the conversion on the website? So once you understand what the page is, really going through this list and understanding, okay, what is it that, we feel is going to be the problem that we need to fix? Once you do that, then you can run your tests. Now I'm going to get to the part where I think it's probably one of the most interesting parts, which is 3 low-hanging fruit tests to run. And the reason I say this is because over and over, we run these tests on the majority of our clients, and it's a common test to run because these are common issues that a lot of websites do. So the first one, decreasing bounce rate on the homepage. And the 2 that we're going to be looking at in this example is, for example, value proposition and clarity. I can't tell you the amount of websites that we start doing conversion rate optimization that look like this, right? And I hope FJGG is not on the call today, but if you are, we can help. But this is an example of a very bad homepage. Why? Well, 2 things. What do they do? What kind of attorneys are they? What is the value proposition? What's in it for me? I don't know. I'm probably going to click right back away because I'm going to have to do too much digging in here. And then what's the call to action on here? Well, the call to action on here is online payment. Wait a second. I'm just doing some research here. I don't want to make a payment, right? So look at your websites. 2 of the most common best practices issues that people do are not having a really good statement on who they are and what they do. Get ready to sell smarter, better, and faster. Okay, I get it. And this is how they can help solve my issue. Reach out to prospects at the right moment. See that as a unique selling proposition that's talking about my pain point as a user and how they can help. Okay, what do I do next? Well, it's pretty obvious. There's a big call to action on there, and I'm going to click on that. Usually, when you implement a really good value proposition statement that's clear and easy to understand, and a very simple call to action on the homepage, you're going to see a tremendous decrease of bounce rate on the homepage. The second thing that I like to do is the jam study. And this is actually something that has been used by Trader Joe's. And if you guys know Trader Joe's, for you guys that don't know Trader Joe's, it is a supermarket that's super small, but outsells all the other supermarkets by a long shot. For example, Whole Foods sells about $1,200 per square feet, where Trader Joe's sells $2,000 per square feet. And they do a lot of different things, but one of the things that actually makes that is the jam study. And this is a study that was done a long time ago, and it really works for what Trader Joe's is doing, but it really, really works for website design. And this is how the study goes. They did a test where they had 24 options of jellies for people to buy. And when they had 24 options, the conversion rate was only 3%. When they brought that down to 6 options, there was a 30% conversion lift, much easier for people to make decisions. And when they brought that down to 3 options, the conversion rate had a lift of 78%. What does that mean? That means that people do not like a lot of options. And 3 is actually the optimal number of options to get the conversion rate to go highest. So if you've ever been to a Trader Joe's, you'll see that they usually don't have more than 3 options of every single product, where if you go into big supermarkets, they have rows and rows of the same product. And if you start paying attention when you go to websites, you'll see that the major players start doing that. For example, this is Comcast. They have probably 18 different options for the plans that you can get, but what do? They break it up into 3 plans, right? We have plan 1, 2, and 3, and then there's a button on the bottom that says, okay, well, you want to see all of them, go to the, click here and view all offers. And the other thing to keep in mind is that, I forget the number now, I think it's like 70 or 60% of people that choose between 3 options, they're always going to choose the middle option. So that is the option that you want to sell. What you do is when you have one option that you want to sell, you create that option as the middle option, and then you do a simpler option and then a little bit more expensive option. And the majority of people will sign for the first one. So as you go through the internet, just start looking at these big players, and they know this, and they've been using this for years. It's always presenting, the packages as 3 packages, and that has a huge boost in engagement. So tip number 3, lead pages, right? Conversion on your lead page. How do you make sure that your lead page is converting the maximum number of people? Well, there's 3 different things that we're going to be always looking at on the design. One of them is encapsulation. Anytime that you put something around a box or a border, that is going to increase the conversion rate of the website. For example, here's an example. You see that that lead form, there's that box around it, which makes it stand out. The second thing is contrast and color. See, both of these pictures, it's hard not to look at that center piece just because the color automatically attracts you. Same deal here. See, these are very subtle design changes, but when you look at this form, it immediately kind of gets your eyes driven to where you need to go in the action that you need to drive. And last but not least, directional cues. And a lot of people don't use these, and these are very, very powerful. What are these? This is calling attention to the important part of the page where you want people to go by arrows. Another directional cue that we've used tremendously, and this is a great example of it, is when there's a picture of somebody on a website looking somewhere, you tend to look at that same place. So this is a very good A/B test that was run years ago, and the only change that they did to this page was to change the baby picture. And you see the markings on this page, that's a heat map, right? A heat map records where people were reading, and you can see that when the baby picture was changed to look at the text, a lot more people actually read the text because that's where their eyes naturally went, right? Here's an example of a good website that uses directional tools. If that finger on the bottom wasn't pointing to the available on the app shop, which is essentially where you want people to click, not a lot of people would be clicking on it as much as they are now that you're telling them exactly where you want them to go. So again, directional cues. So how does your lead gen form look today? So let's say that you look at your website today and you go to your lead gen form and it looks a little bit like the one on the left, right? It blends in with the page. Maybe there's a thin line around it. Well, the first thing that you want to test is make sure you encapsulate it. Make sure you put it in a box where it stands out, right? You can do an A/B test on that and you'll probably see a bump in conversions on there. Then the second test, you could say, okay, well, let me add some color contrast. Look at what happened now. It was standing already with a little bit of the background, but now with the color, it stands out. I can guarantee you there's going to be a small bump in conversion there too. And then if you want to run an additional test, you can add some directional cues. Now look at how this example here on the right, after implementing these three things, much more powerful and eye-catching than that original one, right? So usually when we're doing new websites, we kind of know this and we implement this into the website already. But if you're starting with a website that was designed that doesn't have these elements in there, I can guarantee you that if you put these in here, there's definitely going to be an increase on the number of people that are going to be able to convert on that. Why? Because subconsciously, you're telling them what you want to do visually, right? Whereas in the initial example, when this started, it's very, people have to think hard on what they want to do. So last two pieces of information that I'm going to give you. What systems do I use, right? So first, to find out where the problem is, Google Analytics. Everyone has access to that. It's very easy to go in there and look at the problems and find where the problems are. And then once you go into Google Analytics and you know what the problem is, how do you know what the issue is? Well, one of the great systems that I like to use is either Hotjar or Lucky Orange. And these are systems that are going to do two things. They're going to create heat maps and they're going to create user recordings. They're actually going to record where users go on that page and what users are doing. So then you can say, okay, well, why are people not clicking on that button? And then you can see actually where they're going and where they're reading. And it says, oh my God, you know, they're all going to that other title over there. I had no idea. And that's how you then come up with hypothesis to make changes. Now, once you come up with a hypothesis, you make a different change. There's two different systems that I use to create A/B tests. If you have an existing website and you want to make changes to the pages on the existing website, I use Optimizely. There's a variety of sites out there that do this, but I think Optimizely is probably the one that's the easiest to use and the most powerful for A/B tests. But if you're dealing with, let's say, Google AdWords and you create landing pages, one of the great systems that I like, again, there's dozens of these out there, but Lead Pages, it makes it very easy for you to create different landing pages and then run A/B tests right inside the system. So, you know, among these four tools, these are tools that are easily accessible. Google Analytics is probably the only free one. The others have, you know, a fee. None of them are very expensive. But with these four tools, you can definitely run a lot of these, you know, tests that we've discussed. And with that being said, that wraps up my presentation. It's 2 minutes until the end of the hour. Hopefully, you know, you guys can stay a little bit longer. If you do have some questions, I'm here. But, you know, with that being said, if there's any help that we can do after the session as well, in terms of helping you understand if there's room for improvement with CRO, or, you know, if there's CRO things that you want to do on your website, definitely reach out to us, and then we can, you know, continue to answer questions that way as well.
Cool. Thanks so much, Daniel. Fascinating. I have a question, and please, if you guys have questions, plug them into the chat box, or you're also welcome to unmute yourself. Daniel, how much traffic should you have in general so that it's meaningful to do conversion rate optimization?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it depends on how much traffic the website has, right? And usually I like to generate anywhere between 300 to 500 at a bottom in terms of visitors to that specific website. The homepage, we're going to get a lot more than that. So, you know, a lot of people ask me, how long should I run it for? And it's not a matter of how long in terms of a time period. You know, sometimes some sites to get, you know, 300 to 500, you know, visitors on a specific landing page might take 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. So that's how long you have to run that test. But to get statistical relevance, we usually like to see anywhere between 300 to 500 at a minimum in there. And on that question, also, Chris, I wanted to say that conversion rate optimization is a great tool, but it's not right for everybody, right? And what I mean that is, if your website doesn't have a lot of traffic, there isn't enough traffic on there to give you essentially, you know, the relevant statistics that you need to make these bigger decisions. So if you have traffic on the website, yes, it's great to have, you know, these tools applied. But if you just launched the website and you're looking at 30, 40 visitors, you know, a week, it's probably more important to start generating some traffic to the website until you're getting at least a couple hundred hits, a week on the website before implementing some of these tools.
Nice, nice. And then, by the way, you're getting a lot of kudos. People seem to really like this presentation. I presented a keyword research webinar as part of this webinar series. And then Neil presented how to create search engine optimized content. I'll include those links to those webinars as well in the follow-up email. Everybody will get the link to this recording. Daniel, if you can send me the slides as well, so I PDF it and then include the slides as well. People ask for those slides. It looks like no other questions. Yes, if there are no other questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us if you need help with this stuff. We'd love to chat with you. Daniel, any last tip that anybody should know about?
I would say that, if you do pretend, or if you do intend to go in and start doing some conversion rate optimization, I will say that of all of the marketing strategies that you're going to be working on and spending time on, this is by far the most fun, because there is that gamification aspect to it. When you launch a new website, over the next 2 weeks, you're peeking in the results and see, oh my God, what is this? Is this going to be a better page than the other one? So I would recommend doing some, just so you can get a feel for how interesting it is to run these, but also, you're going to start seeing some really good results in terms of increasing conversion on the website. So I think that's my last piece of advice.
Cool. And then, yeah, Angela sends kudos. Kara, it sounds like this topic resonated well. Maybe we can do a part 2 at some point. All right, we're gonna conclude this session here. I'm gonna send the link to everybody, and again, don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. And hey, Daniel, thanks so much. That really was a great presentation. We'll talk to everybody soon again. We do webinars on a regular basis, so we'll keep in touch and keep you guys informed. Okay. Hey, stay safe and healthy out there, and stay cool. It's pretty hot here in Colorado. Thanks again, Daniel. Thanks everybody for your interest, and we'll talk soon. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, Daniel.
Thanks. Bye.